What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You're here with the Six-Man Show Postgame Live. I was talking with Kevin before the show tonight, and I thought about the idea of officially rebranding this to the Six-Man Show Therapy Session, because that's the only people who are going to be in here tonight is people who need to talk, people who need to hear someone else vent, people who need to vent themselves. That was truly one of the roughest losses of the season. There's no way around it. There's no other way to put it. But thank you guys so much for choosing to be with us here tonight. I get it. I came on these last year after some rough losses, so let's get it off our chest. But this is the Six-Man Show Postgame Live, brought to you by Rock'em Socks. Let's go ahead and talk about Rock'em, by the way. Rock'em is an incredible company. They are Orlando-based. They are local. They love the Magic. Even on rough nights like this, they love the Magic. And they have put out plenty of apparel, including this tremendous pair of stuff socks that we got right here. Highly recommend you guys check out some of the Magic stuff that they have. But not just the Magic stuff that they have, they also have plenty of other things on their website, such as these. My wife and I just finished watching through the Harry Potter movies. She had never seen them before, so I figured I might as well plug one of my favorite franchises. These are dope. I love these quite a bit. And then I am a Ravenclaw. No apologies made for that, and I love these socks quite a bit. So you can also get 3-packs. You can get Magic gear. You can get Bucks gear if your team is still in the playoffs. Then go ahead, rep them, show out for them. And if you use code MAGIC20, then you can get 20% off of your order at rock'em.com or rock'emsocks.com. Go ahead, use that promo code, and use it for some shopping therapy to get something off of your chest. Maybe get something else to take your mind off of this Magic team just after the post-game live tonight, because that was rough. I don't have that much to say. I'm pretty much going to dive into your guys' comments because, trust me, I know you guys have plenty to get off your chest. But you started up 9-8 in the first quarter, and as I put on the ticker at the bottom, Milwaukee went on a 19-0 run. That was the game right there. Just without Jalen, without a couple of other guys that just really bring some spark to this team, you could just really tell that after that point of the game, like, you lost this game in the first quarter. And this team, it's so weird to say stuff like that because normally you don't say, oh, this team, lost the game in the first quarter. But that's pretty much what happened with this Magic team tonight. And we're going to get into it. And I'm going to really, really try to rein in how I really feel about this and how I really want to talk about this. The amount of 3-point shots that the Orlando Magic took this evening was absolutely inexcusable. It was pathetic. It was lazy. It was, there's a number of different words I could use to describe it. It was horrific. I actually I'm going to do something a tiny bit different here because I want to pull this up. The Orlando Magic took, I believe it was 46 threes, and actually to feed my agenda, I was upset that last Trevelyan shot went down. This year in the NBA, there's only one team in the entire league that on an average basis is putting up over 46 threes, and it is the Boston Celtics. So this is just to give you guys an idea as, 46 felt like it was a lot, even for the Magic. How does it stack up against the rest of the NBA? There is absolutely no reason why this team, as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason most teams need to be putting up 46 threes in a game, but there's no reason that this Magic team needs to be shooting 46 threes. Once that 19-0 Milwaukee run happened, they gave up. They were tired. At multiple points on the broadcast, Dante called them sleepy. And honestly, it wasn't just the result that I was upset with. It was the way that the results went about happening, and it was how pathetic of a showing it really was, because it just kind of felt like no one cared. And as far as that goes, this is one of the least Magic-like games I've seen all season. It just felt like the team didn't care. Once that run happened in the first quarter, they just stopped closing out. The amount of open looks that Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton got throughout this game, it was tough. It was a tough watch, but thank you guys so much for being here. I'm pretty much immediately going to head over to the chat because I just don't have the emotional well-being to talk about this game for longer than we have to. So Janine Richmond. Janine, thanks for starting us off tonight. Faithful listener of the show, and we appreciate your presence here tonight. Well, that was rough. We need our guys back healthy and then go on a run. that's something else we have to factor in is just the health of this Magic team, the amount of people that we have out. You just look at the inactive list. You have Jet Howard's out, Jalen Suggs is out, Goga is out, Gary Harris is out, Franz Wagner's out, Mo Wagner's out. It's just a lot of injuries. They're piling up. They're adding up. Man, just a tough one. But also you have to factor in the fact that I know this team doesn't do well on long extended periods of rest. Milwaukee played it back-to-back. And that's really what drives this in as being as awful as it was the fact that they were coming off of the back night of a back-to-back, and it looked like they were the team that had gotten 5 nights of rest, and you had played 3 games in 3 nights. It just didn't look great, but health is going to go a long way for this team. Paolo's back, but, Paolo can't carry us on his back every single night. So I'm Jovi. I'm not going to throw up all of your comments, but if you want a pretty good description of how this game went, just go ahead and go back up to the top of the chat and scroll through I'm Jovi's commentary, essentially giving kind of a beat-by-beat update on how the game was going. But, yeah. A couple comments I'm just going to throw up here. I'm Jovi. Said, I don't know how they come out with more energy than us when they played last night and we had 2 to 3 nights of rest. I just mentioned that. That was just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how you look at this roster and don't make changes. Our 3-point shooting is so laughable, truly embarrassing. The Bucks fan who was yelling on all the free throws was a great moment from tonight, but truly one of the positives that we actually had. And I'm Jovi's comment combined with Luke Benson here. I think that it was less about the 3-point shooting needs to be addressed in this iteration of the NBA, in this type of league. You can't have a team that is shooting. We are, by the way, and if you want to go back to that stat page that I had pulled up, we are shooting 2.5% lower from 3 than any other team in the NBA. We are a horrendous 3-point shooting team. And there is a combination. There's a fine line here, but it's a combination between the coaching to tell the team we are not a 3-point shooting team. Stop taking them. Stop trying to shoot your way back into games because it's not going to happen. And also addressing it, because if we don't address it, this is just going to keep happening. Anytime where we get down early in a game, you're going to have a bunch of players who think that they can shoot their way back into a game, but they are not a team capable of shooting themselves back into a game. Except once in a while, when the Heat comeback happens or a Nets comeback happens, and it just gives this team a false sense of confidence about what this team is and what their identity truly is. I'm Jovi, really popping off here in the comments. Had a lot to say. Ajori B says, well, that was a hard watch. Hopefully everyone will get healthy by next week. Agreed. This is the first game that we have had since the Franz news. There is a podcast dropping tonight. I'm not going to step on their toes by talking about that. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, guys. And this is the most difficult stretch of our schedule that we have left for the entire season, as far as I'm concerned. We have 2 more games, Boston, Denver, and then you look at the rest of January into February, there's light at the end of the tunnel with these guys coming back from injuries and with the schedule lightening up for sure. So I saw a couple comments about us dropping into the play-in. This is not a healthy Magic team, and this was a very difficult stretch. So the fact that we lost as many games as we did doesn't really surprise me. Didn't surprise a lot of us. Yeah, it was rough. Carlos Perez says, we had 9 guys available, 3 of which are G League guys. This game should have been allowed to be rescheduled. In an ideal world, absolutely, but that's not how the NBA works, unfortunately. Fake Mike Real News says, what just happened? Right there with you. I have absolutely no idea. Just an off night. Yes and no. I agree with you, Duvall, in some senses of the word, and I also completely could not disagree with you more in other senses of the word, in that it almost felt like this team halfway through the first quarter excused it as just being an off night, and they're like, forget the fact that we still have 3.5 quarters of basketball left to play. They gave up so early in this game. Body language, chucking up threes when that's not how we operate whatsoever. That's just not what we do. So I think that, yes, while it was frustrating in that first quarter of shots not falling, it's on the coaching to be like, okay, guys, your shots aren't falling. Let's try something different. Let's pivot to a different approach. Let's do something else. So Swordfish says that was embarrassing. Yes, it was. Duval says brutal. Janine back up here. She says defense got frozen in Milwaukee. again, I mentioned it before. This was not just about the offense and chucking up 46 threes, but it was about the lack of defense and at many times the lack of defensive effort. Like, it wasn't like you were just having Giannis and Dame and Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton making tough shots. The easy amount of shots that they got tonight, or the amount of easy shots they got tonight, was just embarrassing for a team that is supposed to hang their hat on the defensive side of the ball. You can't have performances like tonight. It was ridiculous. Colin Cordero says no rhythm tonight. It was just a whole lot of catch-up basketball. Agreed. Trying to shoot your way back into a game. Let's see what else we got here. Adam Landon says, from the very rip, that was gross to watch. Yeah. No, it was a tough watch. There's not really any other way of putting it. Hard to watch. Matthew Kinnison says Weltman needs to open for business this trade deadline. There's no doubt about it. We need to address the three-point shooting. But again, I don't think our takeaway from this game needs to be, look at the lack of three-point shooting on this team. Something needs to be done. I think the takeaway from this game tonight is our just not playing our identity of basketball was our biggest issue and our biggest problem tonight. And that's the biggest takeaway that I have personally from this, is that we didn't play Magic basketball, and look what happened. The product was not Magic basketball. Jalen says this was easily the worst game of the season. Man, I'm not. You remember the big wins a lot more than you remember the big losses. So I'm not going to jump and say, oh, this is easily the worst the worst loss of the season. But you would be really, really, really hard pressed to find something worse than this one. I'm just kind of going back. December 6th against the depleted Philly squad, you lose that game. But I think that was actually the night of the Franz injury. I quick glance at the schedule, I'm inclined to agree with you, Jalen. Worst loss of the season, just because, again, our brand of basketball. And you look at a team, a roster, a starting lineup, a lineup that didn't look too much different than the game on the 10th. And yes, that was played at home, but you just played this Milwaukee team. What was that, 5 days ago, and you only lost by 3. And then to show up and lose by 29 is just where I'm really struggling to wrap my mind around what happened tonight. Just because of the fact that it's just like what happened between those two games. I know that we lost a couple people in that Milwaukee game, but I don't know. It was rough. Christy says, what a beatdown. Janine, again, yes, Magic Maniac therapy session. I'm here for it. Glad we could help you out. Go ahead and leave a like. If you're here, then you know that this means something. If you're here, you know the importance of these games, not just after the wins, but after the losses. We are a Magic Maniac community, regardless of if this team wins or loses. We support this team, regardless of if this team wins or loses. So go ahead, leave a like on the content. That helps the algorithm. It helps us to push this show out and this channel out to other Magic Maniacs who can come and have a bit of a therapy session with us after nights like tonight. So go ahead, leave a like on the video. If you get the chance. And also, if you're joining us on X as well, thank you so much. Something relatively new that we started doing a couple weeks ago. Thank you so much. We go ahead and we comb through comments over on YouTube. There's super chat options over on YouTube if you want to get a kind of a direct link into the show. So if you want to come ahead and go over to YouTube as well, there's a lot more interaction on that side if you are joining us from X. And go ahead and throw us a follow or a subscription if you're over on YouTube as well. But if you're here on X as well, thank you so much for being here. So the only hero says, it's like when the Magic are down bad, they try shooting themselves out of it, knowing that's very unlikely. Play to your strengths, and if you lose, all well. Yeah, I agree. They tried shooting themselves out of it, and by trying to shoot themselves out of it, they shot themselves in the foot. Colin Cordero says, my guy always gets the L's. Sorry, bud. Thanks for being the therapy leader. Actually, running joke in the six-man show group chat is that my name's Sam, and I have actually gotten the pleasure of being the person who did the post-game live after the Suns game when we won right after the Franz injury, and we weren't supposed to win that game, and then the Brooklyn comeback where Cole Anthony hit the game-winning shot. Maddie World Peace is the man you're looking for, and also running joke in the group chat is that he has gotten some of the most brutal losses of the season, and we're still waiting for him to be able to do a PGL after a win. But hopefully that comes soon. Definitely wanted to get his infectious energy on here after a win and not just keep handing him the losses. So another comment from Jalen here. We should never, ever be shooting more than 33s in a game. We don't have the personnel. Completely agree. Icarus, I could not have said this better myself. This was the first game this year where players and coach did not care at all. Horrible laydown strategy, chucking up threes, no motivation out of timeouts, just an admission of defeat. Unacceptable. I couldn't agree more. I think that just summarized everything that we just watched. Do we think the front office makes a move at the trade deadline? Again, I hope we do, for some shooting, for some help offensively. But I will say I don't think that needs to be our takeaway from this game. I think that there's a lot of things, and I do think that this kind of accentuates our need for a shooter, but I don't think that we need to come out of this game being like, oh, well, if we just would have had a shooter on this roster, then we would have done so much better. No, I don't think that was the takeaway at all. Normally, I would say never tell a shooter to stop shooting, but there are several guys that need a big freaking stop sign. Yeah, Chris, you're not wrong there. Let's see. Just going to look through the comments, one section, just to see if we have anything else to go through. Go after De'Aaron Fox. Get rid of Gary, always hurt Harris. I've heard a lot of people in the fan base talking about going after Fox at the trade deadline. I really think that just depends on what you would have to give up, and I think that you would have to give up a lot, especially with how De'Aaron is playing this year. I don't know if that'd be worth it for me. Can't say that I would pull the trigger on that. I would have to see what the trade would look like and what Sacramento was asking for. I think guys more like a Cam Johnson out of Brooklyn are kind of the guys that I'm personally looking at. I think that a guy like De'Aaron Fox, well, that would be a huge get, would really cost this team a lot, and I don't think our front office is the type of front office that would make a move like that. Let's see. Adam says it was an awful game all around, but I definitely felt the loss of Goga tonight with the skeleton crew we've been running on. Absolutely. It was rough, but I think that the lack of a true center didn't help with Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis. A lot of looks at the rim for Milwaukee. I mean, they didn't even shoot a ton of threes because they didn't have to. How many threes did Milwaukee end up shooting tonight? Let me look. Milwaukee ended up shooting 12 three-pointers, and they tied their season low for three-pointers made in a single game with 7 because they realized very early that we did not have any way of stopping them in the paint. They could just do whatever they wanted, get whatever they wanted, and they did. They took 12 threes all night, and they made 7 of them. So, let's see. D. Randall. Sam, you aren't Maddie. The Magic should have won this game. Oh, just going for the neck on that one. That's rough. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, no pun intended, my Magic had to run out eventually with some of the crazy nail biters that we were winning when I was on these. So, a lot of comments about effort tonight. I'm not going to get into a ton of these. Matthew Kinnison says, wait until Celtics play us after losing to Toronto. It's going to be a battle of attrition for sure, of which matters more. The Celtics losing to a team like Toronto, which is a high-caliber team, losing to a very low-caliber team, or a team like the Magic, who have a very high expectation for themselves, putting up this much of a stinker. Because I believe that the Celtics, we'll get into the scores here in a second, but I believe the Celtics only lost by maybe 10, which that's not a game the Celtics should be losing. They were probably favored by double digits, but still. We'll see. I think that this team's going to have a fire under their butt going into Friday, and I'm really hoping that we can get some guys back and then go into that game just realizing that we need to play our brand of Magic basketball if we want to have a shot. So, and Christie's saying Maddie catching strays. He's going to get one eventually, guys. He's got quite a few more planned the rest of the year. He's going to get one eventually. No questions asked. So we're going to go ahead and hop over here. I'm not going to take up too much of your guys' time. Because I'm not going to spend a ton of time looking at this box score because it is atrocious. Paolo took 20 shots. He had 22 points. Wendell had a double-double. Minuses across the board. The only person who was even close was Cole Anthony, and he was 5 of 13. Just a lot of shot chucking from 3. 1 of 3 from Cole Anthony. 2 of 7 from KCP. 2 of 7 from Paolo. 0 of 3 from Tristan De Silva, 0 of 2 from Black, 0 of 3 from Isaac, and Isaac had some really good looks. Trevelyan Queen was 3 of 6, and that was it. And most of those were in garbage time by the time that this team had already lost this game. Going into the game summary here, you can see really what happened tonight is you didn't lose any of the second, third, or fourth quarters by any more than 5 points. You lost the second quarter 28-25, third quarter 30-27, and the fourth quarter 30-25. Excuse me, but you lost that first quarter by 18. You only score 16 points, and that's when the shot chucking started. That's when this team got desperate, and it did not work out well. Now, look at this. The Orlando Magic with 32 points in the paint is horrific. We had 14 more three-point attempts than we had points in the paint. That is ridiculous. 40 bench points, only 13 turnovers, 7 of which were from Paolo Banchero, which is the only other note I had tonight, is that Paolo is averaging 5.3 turnovers per game since he's been back, which is mildly concerning. I know that it's he's still kind of trying to get back into rhythm, but the amount of times where he's lost his dribble or the amount of times he's gone back into that like rookie Paolo where he just kept driving and then he jumps and then he's just like, oh shoot, what am I going to do? And he's throwing the ball away. We didn't see that a ton in the first 4 games of the season, and it's kind of concerning to me that that's starting to make a comeback in terms of his play style. I don't like that. I think once he gets back into rhythm, and I think once Franz comes back and he's back to playing with a fully healthy team, I think that a lot of that probably has to do with him feeling like right now he has to do the majority of the work offensively. So he's putting himself in some uncomfortable situations and really doing what he probably shouldn't be doing. Let's see. Looking at the comments real quick, I might just end up going straight over to the scores and standings. A lot of comments about if we're going to trade anyone, trade Gary Harris because he's not really accomplishing much for this team, and I'm not inclined to disagree with any of those comments. We're going to go ahead and jump straight over to the standings. We're going to see if they are updated since the games this evening. They have been, and for the first time this season, the Orlando Magic are only 1 game out of the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference. The Pacers, the Heat, the Pistons, and the Hawks have all been playing decent basketball. The Magic are 12.5 out of first, 6 out of second, but you're looking more at that, the Knicks, you had a chance to kind of keep pace with them tonight and only be 3 games back and still be in the 4 seed. But it's really going to be big for this team that we're getting healthy and that we have a little bit of an easier schedule coming up because the Pacers are creeping up. They're only a half game back. The Heat, the Pistons, and the Hawks are all only a full game back of you. If you continue this skid, which I don't foresee happening, but if you continue this skid, you're going to be in trouble in terms of the standings, and you don't want to put yourself in a position going into the back half of the year where you're having to claw back into one of those top 4 seeds. You'd like to see this team win some games over the duration of January so that we can stay in one of those top 4 seeds. Let's look at some of the games from tonight. We're just going to go ahead and ignore that top one because we've talked enough about that. Jazz and Hornets, a battle of 2 teams, and neither one has over 10 wins. So I got a couple good games going on tonight, though. You've got the Rockets up 20 over the Nuggets, so that would have been a good game coming into tonight. But it looks like the Rockets are handling business. Warriors and Timberwolves over on ESPN. Heat and Lakers. Rare game where I wish I could be rooting against both teams, but I'd actually love if the Lakers could pull out that win because we never want to see the Heat succeeding. Clippers and Nets is just starting. And then a couple finals from earlier tonight is the Knicks blew a huge lead and allowed the game with the 76ers to go into overtime, and they ended up pulling it out either way. Celtics lose to the Raptors. We were talking about that earlier. It'll be interesting to see how the Celtics rebound from a loss like that coming into Friday's game. Spurs lose to the Grizzlies 129-115. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Victor Wembanyama had 8 blocks in the first half. Did he have any in the second half? Let me look and let me see. No, he had 8 blocks at halftime and then proceeded to not get any blocks the duration of the game. Pelicans beat the Mavericks, and then the Hawks take care of the Bulls. Not really a ton of big games going on tonight in the NBA. Not a ton of surprising games tonight other than that Raptors-Celtics final. So not much to talk about in terms of scores around the NBA. Couple more takeaways before we wrap things up tonight is I'm going to go ahead and throw this up right here from Janine, because I believe that this is the mentality that we should have as Magic fans. Maybe this is just me coping. I don't think so. I think this is just the mentality we need to have, is that our schedule lightens up after this week. That plus getting some bodies back should help. And I think adding to that, Janine, looking at this, the standings and seeing that we had a pretty good gap for the initial part of this year, but then looking and seeing that going into getting some guys healthy, going into getting a little bit of an easier stretch of a schedule, seeing that there's a team a half game back of them and that they are one game away from slipping into not the 7th seed, not the 8th seed, but the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference, I think will really light a fire under these guys, because I know how much they talked about in training camp being in a position where they wanted to take care of the games that they needed to take care of. And win the games they needed to win so that they could get one of those top 4 seeds and get home court advantage in the first round. And they have an opportunity to prove that. If you look at the schedule for the rest of January, they have a great chance. After the Celtics and after the Nuggets, you have plenty of opportunities to prove that you are ready to take care of games that you need to take care of. It's going to be up to this team to see what they can make happen, if they can win those games, if we can get healthy going into those games. Thankfully, other than the Franz injury and then obviously Mo being out for the year, we don't have a lot of serious injuries to contend with. So it looks like most of these guys should be coming back soon. And I don't know about you guys, but I am just ready to watch this team play healthy again. We have gotten 4 games all year of Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero all playing basketball together. I'm ready to watch them all play on the court again, and I don't think that day is too far away. We have a watch party coming up on Friday night. I'm going to be there. My boy Jonathan's going to be there. I believe Ben is going to be there as well, if I'm not mistaken. It is going to be at the Caribe Royale at the Stadium Club bar. It is an insane venue. I have not been there personally, but Maddie and Jonathan went earlier this year. They got photos, and they sent them. It looks insane. It's going to be amazing. Please come out. Check it out. It's going to be a great vibe. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's just always great coming out and actually getting to see you guys face to face, hang out with you guys, watch a game with you guys instead of having to be on the other side of the camera. But I'm actually going to be doing the post-game live from the hotel room later that night. So I will get to, for the rare time this season, get to hang out with you guys, back-to-back games. Super excited to be back on here on Friday night. Win or loss, I love being on here. I love this community. I love you guys. Your Orlando Magic were not able to pull out the win tonight. They struggled. And they lost to the Bucks 122-93. Come check us out Friday night, watch party, game against the Celtics. Go Magic.